What makes somebody a good loan officer? Like if you had to design someone, what would that design be?
So my first real sales job, I had several sales jobs, man. I pushed a mower door to door as a kid. Like that's sales, right?
For me as a business owner, it's gone from, oh yeah, it's just, hey, let me do your stuff for you. Like just me. And now I have 15 people that are doing stuff all the time on the back end.
I'm a firm believer of success breeds success. And we've got a lot of folks that are having a lot of success in a market where most people in the mortgage industry are getting out.
Today we're sitting down with Jesse Cronin, one of the guys who's one of my clients and a very successful mortgage loan officer. This is a space that you guys might be interested in getting in if you're, maybe somebody who has an entrepreneurial spirit, but not the risk-taking ability to really do it yourself. This is a gateway to make the income, have the freedom, have the energy of owning a business, and you're going to learn it all today. Jesse, how you doing?
Great, buddy. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So we've been working together for 7 months, a while now.
Yeah, it's crazy to say that, but yeah, July was when we first sat down together.
Yeah, and since July, it's been crazy because for me as a business owner, it's gone from, oh yeah, it's just, hey, let me do your stuff for you, like just me. And now I have 15 people that are doing stuff all the time on the back end, which has been cool. And I've loved seeing people like you, Sam Stone, the guys who originally have been with me grow in that process. Yeah,
I told you back in July, I was like, dude, I'm telling you, if you continue to put the word out there, it'll grow organically. And I mean, you look at it, it's grown like crazy. So kudos to you and your team on what y'all are doing.
Thank you. Well, so your story is really interesting because most people aren't able to find success in the field they're in. They get very complacent and they're always asking like, how do I do more? Like maybe they want to make more money. They want to have better success, more freedom. And freedom is an interesting word in itself. Let's talk about what freedom do you have in your life right now, being like, because your phone's ringing a lot. So let's talk about how your freedom is being managed right now.
Freedom to me, I think, is time. We were talking about that before, and having 4 children, very active kids, from college to 7 years old, having a wife, and we're extremely active. And to me, freedom is being able to spend more time with the people that we love, right? And so I've been blessed. I got into the mortgage business in 2005. And so just celebrated 20 years back in July, right around the time we met. And, for me, it's like my why. That's what I tell people, like why do you work? Why do you put in the hard hours? Why do you put in the hard work? And it's for that time to be able to spend it with the people you love, your family.
Yeah. And what do you think's been the leading factor to your success?
I go back to when I was a kiddo, my dad, I used to tag along. I loved going to work with my dad, and my dad was in the printing industry back in the days when there were actually like big printing presses, pre-internet, pre-cell phones. He had a car phone. You're way too young to know like what an actual installed car phone is, but his office was in Frankfurt, and so I would drive along, and selfishly I would drive along because I knew we'd get a blizzard on the way home. But I went on sales calls with him, and watching the way he treated his customers. They were his friends. They became his friends. He treated them, with the respect of how you treat family. And I look back to one of the first conversations. It's funny you say this, but one of the first conversations that I ever had with one of my family members when we were opening up our first office. So I'd been in the mortgage business for, at that time, about a year. And one of my uncles, who's my godfather, God love him. He's a great man. He's actually the mayor of St. Matthews. He looks at me and he says, Jesse, why would anybody come to you for a mortgage? Mm-hmm. You're 25 years old. Why wouldn't I just go to Fifth Third Bank? And bright-eyed, bushy-tailed 25-year-old Jesse said, because we're going to give the best service. We're going to give the quickest, the best, just, all the best customer service. And 20 years later, that's still what we live by is, treating our customers with respect. And it's their greatest financial asset. And so going back to my dad, if you treat every client like they're your last or your only, then the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah. The learning sales is something that a lot of people, it's kind of like you're either born with it or you're not. Yeah. And born with it's more like, did your environment create you to be someone who could be good in sales and to know that? It sounds like your environment helped create you into somebody that could be good in sales and have that energy and have that conversation piece. But the note that you were kind of getting at there is that, a lot of people, sales now have this like whole mastery of sales idea. And it's not really, like to me, sales is just having a conversation. Like, I'm here to help you.
Yep.
You've expressed interest in wanting the thing that I can provide. Let's see if it's going to make sense.
Well, I don't mean to hijack what you were saying. So my first real sales job, I had several sales jobs, man. I pushed a mower door to door as a kid. Like that's sales, right? But my first real corporate sales job was with AT&T Wireless. And it's funny how life happens, right? So I had gotten a job offer from State Farm to be an insurance agent, and 2 days of cold calling in a basement with the agent. They say to me, they're like, "Hey, by the way, we're retracting your offer because you don't have your degree." I hadn't graduated. So full circle, I had another job offer from AT&T. I got it. So I fly to Chicago, and the best sales training I ever had was based on what you just said. How you shape questions, can I help you? Or I'm trying to think of like questions that a salesperson would ask as opposed to what brings you in today. Open-ended questions that get people talking. And then to your point, that conversation becomes the sale, right? So if you're genuine and you make it natural, then the rest of it takes care of itself.
Yeah. And so with the whole pipeline of mortgage lending, so, I think it's, the percentage of people who need, a loan to buy a house? What's that percentage?
Oh God. I mean, I don't know what the percentage is, but I know that, there's several million transactions nationally a year. I think during the height, I don't know, during 2020, it was 2 times what it is now, but there's several million transactions annually. So you look at that, there's a lot.
It seems like it's almost like you got a few people who probably can buy a house in cash.
Yeah.
They're out there.
Yeah, small percentage, but they're
very small percentage.
Yeah.
But it seems like health insurance to an extent of like everyone needs health insurance.
Yeah.
Everyone needs a loan for their house.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so how do you convince people to go to you? And what does that conversation look like? What's that sales cycle like?
Well, I don't think it's convincing. So, the way that we connect with a lot of our clients is either connections through past clients, a warm referral from a previous client, right? You took care of them. Real estate agents trust that you're going to A, put their clients' needs first, B, that you're going to get it closed. And so when you're talking to a client that you've talked to for the first time, asking them what their needs are. So, it's not, hey, what are you trying to spend on a new house? It's, hey, what kind of monthly payment do you think fits into your budget? Let's talk about your budget. And so, starting that process with what their needs are and then backing into what they should purchase, showing them all the options. So, I tell people all the time, I'm a nice guy, but people don't buy mortgages. People don't finance with me because I'm a nice guy. People buy with us or people finance with us because we've got the best products. Now we have a great back end process and we have a great staff, the people behind it. But at the end of the day, the process, when somebody comes in is identifying what their needs are and then putting them in the right, program or position.
And so you find most of your leads organically, it sounds like.
All organically.
All organic.
Yeah.
No paid ads?
I don't do any paid ads, no.
No paid ads for anything?
No.
And you guys have been able to scale. So, and you're with North Point Bank.
North Point Bank, yeah.
And that works as such, and let me know if this is how the process works. I'm not like super familiar with the back end process, but if North Point can't fund somebody or give a loan, do you guys be like, all right, let's work with a partner? Or is it always North Point exclusively, we are the funding?
No, good question. So I've been in the broker world before. Early in my career, I was in the broker world. I've been on the wholesale side before. So North Point's a bank. I've been on the bank side now for 12 years. Most recently with North Point for the last 4. So the way it works is if a client comes to us, we've got, don't quote me, 200-300 legitimately different options that we can help a client with. Generally speaking, if we can't help a residential client, I'm not talking commercial, I'm not talking about somebody wants to build a 40-plex, I'm talking 1 to 4 unit residential. If we can't help them, they generally can't get a loan. And that's not saying that we'll give anybody money. That's saying we have so many different options. And so no, we don't broker anything out. The bank, we went public last February. Super, super cool, proud moment for me. I got to be on the podium at the New York Stock Exchange when we rang the bell. So, for us, having the bank backing and the bank money, when we write a loan, here we're local in Louisville. We've got underwriting, processing, closing here in Louisville, but Grand Rapids is where corporate is. They obviously the loan gets funded and, the loan is a North Point loan. We don't broker anything. That makes sense.
Yeah. So you keep everything in house and so you keep everything in house, all organic.
Yeah.
Doing a lot of volume. Are you guys looking for talent right now?
Yeah, obviously we're not out hiring anybody and everybody, but the right individual looking to, take their business to the next level. I'm a firm believer of success breeds success. And, we've got a lot of folks that are having a lot of success in a market where most people in the mortgage industry are getting out, or what they call the worst market in the history of the world. So if you look at it, go back 2-3 years, there were, I'm terrible with numbers, but I'll get close, 400,000 loan officers or so nationally. Today, there's less than 100,000. So 70-ish% of loan officers have gotten out of the business. And while that's happening, because so many people are struggling, we've got a lot of loan officers that are having their best years.
So, and with that, what makes somebody a good loan officer? Like if you had to design someone, what would that design be?
Well, I mean, first off, you've got to have somebody who's selflessly going to put the client first. So, number one, the client always has to be first. You asked me a second ago, do you send somebody else to somebody else, another company, if you can't do it? If there's a better opportunity for a client, for such and such situation, we advise the client. I have clients all the time who come to me who think they need this, but they have an opportunity to use their cash or use their stocks or whatever. And even though, we get paid to write loans, even though that client isn't going to do a loan, if we tell them to do this, we tell them what to do for their best benefit. Mm-hmm. So someone who A, is going to put their clients first, B, hard work, right? I was at my desk at 4 a.m. this morning. So I go in early. I go home 6:15, 6:30, and I'm dad, right? Get the kids up, breakfast, do all the things to get the kids up and out, take them to school, and go back to my desk. Nobody's making me do that. That's self-driven, right? And so A, clients first, B, somebody that's super motivated. And then, the rest I think would be someone who's outgoing, right? Mm-hmm. You can't be, I'm somewhat of an introvert. I don't like crowds. I don't like public speaking, but, you'd make an argument that 20 years of mortgages and tens of thousands of clients, like how you're an introvert, but you have to be a people person, but yeah, hard work, people skills, and obviously putting your clients' needs first.
Yeah, I think that's a really important part is the customer service of it, because it really is that world of you treat one client right and they refer 10, 20 people. I mean, Sam Stone's a great example for me of like, I've had one guy, he's referred, like a lot of people have came my way just through him. So it's like
one of my best friends, who's one of my best referral partners. I helped him from his first house. He was working at Blockbuster. Terrible credit at the time. And he would tell me, I'm not sharing anything that I couldn't share. And he would welcome me sharing this. Mm-hmm. He came to me to buy his first house. He thought he'd never be able to buy his first house. I helped him get his credit where he needed to get to buy his first house. He has now financed 8-10 properties with me. He's also now one of the highest producing real estate agents in the city of Louisville. Mm-hmm. And, he knows that I'm going to he felt it firsthand. So you talk about Sam's situation. I mean, in this case, Jacob's, not only used me himself, but referred me hundreds of clients. And it all goes back to that first situation where I could have easily said, you don't qualify now. Call me when you do. Mm-hmm. Just taking that extra time to show them how to qualify and how to get into a place to be able to purchase.
Yeah. It's always that extra step of, so much of what I end up doing is like we have baseline deliverables. My brain just does not work in deliverables. It's just not how I function. I'll sit with my clients a lot and be like, hey, let's go meet up, or let's talk about a new strategy. Or like, I get really nerdy and obsessed with stuff. I'm like, guys, we should all try this now. Yeah. And I just want to share the information. So I'm sure you're similar of like, you're probably always researching the market, always learning new things. Yeah. So what's your process right now of learning and growing to stay up to date with everything?
Well, I tell people all the time, if you're not learning or you're not constantly reinventing yourself, you're dying, right? So a great example. So we came to North Point in October of 21. Previous bank was sold. I thought I was going to retire from there. They sell. Hey, let's go see what, I was a free agent, right? Mm-hmm. You like sports. I was 40 years old. I was a free agent. So let's find out what's best for our next step of our career. And I get to North Point, and one of our products, which is one of my favorite products, it's called an all-in-one. I'd never heard of it. Most loan officers, if you polled 100 loan officers right now across the country, 90+% of them wouldn't know what it was, right? It's not because they don't know how to do their job. It's because they don't do it, right? So back to your point about, constantly learning and reinventing yourself. I come to North Point, I see this all-in-one, and I'm like, what is this, right? And so dive into it. It's a first mortgage simple interest loan that allows your cash flow to determine how fast you pay down the principal, which determines what you pay in interest. long story short, I'm a firm believer of I won't sell anything that I don't either A, live in, mean have, or B, believe in, right? So before I even remotely talked to a client, I jumped into it myself. Flash forward 4 years later, I've closed 500-600 of those. And for my clients who have the right cash flow and the right financial discipline, there's not a better loan out there. So back to your point, in 2021, that was one of the many things that I reinvented myself. There are so many different options for self-employed clients. So how do I do that? What's my process? We have so many products at NorthPoint, and one of the breath of fresh air pieces of NorthPoint, previous to NorthPoint at Commonwealth, where I was the senior vice president of mortgage as well, I had to find the products. Well, now we have a product team that they're 2 steps ahead, finding us different things that we can use internally. And so, go back to what I was saying about self-employed clients. We help self-employed clients. I'm closing a loan today for a client that they have a ton of cash flow. They've just got a really good accountant, right? And so their bank deposits into their business bank account is what drives what we actually are able to qualify them off of. Asset utilization, asset depletion. That could go on for the next literal hour. I'm not gonna bore you, but all those things, making sure that, you talk about you're like, you find something new, you tell everybody to do it. I'm the same way when it comes to loan products. And so if it's something that is right for our clients and it helps more clients that deserve to buy, self-employed, for instance, we're going to dive into it, learn it, and then ultimately, get it out to the masses.
Yeah. So let's walk through a little bit of the details, because a lot of business owners or younger people who are business owners, how can they qualify for mortgages, especially when you're like, hey, W-2s, I'm not, or whatever, your tax return, so I'm not showing a lot of income.
Yeah.
It's all in the cash flow of the business.
I mean, so you look at, for instance, let's say you've got a let's say like yourself. We're using you as an example. Mm-hmm. You got a business that's been open for a couple years and you've got strong receivables, deposits into the bank, but your accountant is unbelievable at his or her job, right? They know how to write off different things legally to make what your tax liability to the IRS is going to be minimal. Most times you go into the bank or you go into the local broker shop, they're going to say, hey, Cam, man, your credit's great. You're putting down good money, but you show $30,000 on taxes. So here's your $120,000 pre-approval, mm-hmm. right? Where you're bringing in 70, 80, 90 grand a month in receivables. So with us, with our self-employed program, with our bank statement program, tax returns go out the window. We're looking at actual what your actual dollars are, what's going into the bank, what the deposits are, and then based on a couple things, what type of business, how many employees, how many locations. There's a couple factors we look at that then determine the expense ratio. And so if you've got 70 grand a month and you showed 30 in profit to the IRS, 70, depending on the type of business, we might have a 30% expense ratio or a 70, or there's different numbers. But let's just say, hypothetically, let's say it's a 50% expense ratio. Well, 70 times 12 is 840,000. Half of that, you would have had $420,000 in top line income that we could qualify you. So now instead of qualifying for your 120 that you make way more than enough to qualify for, you just don't show it. Mm-hmm. You're now able to qualify for your 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever that you really want to qualify for, and you should. Mm-hmm. So it goes into what the actual cash flow that's going into the bank is. And that's what's nice is like deposits into the bank is real. Mm-hmm. The IRS, the IRS codes have gotten so muddy that like a good accountant earns their money by making it look like you make no money. Mm-hmm. You can't hide deposits in the bank, right? If you're putting money into the bank, that's real money that you're bringing into your business. And at the end of the day, we've had so much success. Our success ratio of those clients that are self-employed, they pay their bills the same or better than clients who are W-2'd or that actually go full documentation. You know why? Those are entrepreneurs. They're out hustling to earn that money, and not the W-2 employees aren't, but they will beg, borrow, and steal to pay that bill because they know the value of a dollar. They're not going to lose their house. Mm-hmm. So
absolutely. Well, yeah. And walk us through some of the nitty gritty, because everyone knows about FHA. They're like, you get the little down, the fixed whatever thing. Yeah. Business owners don't normally get the same treatment in that sense. So walk us through the details, like what's general down payment for a bank statement loan and things like that.
It depends. A good question. But I mean, you can do as little as 10% down. So you got to have some in. You're not doing a 3.5% down. You're not doing no money down. But most business owners, typically if they have if they've been established and they have good receivables, most business owners can come up with 10%. A lot of my business owners put down 20, 30, 40%, right? It's what they want to put down, but it comes down to qualifying. So when you look at how much do I have to put down, it's based as much on the credit score. So if your credit score is a 680, let's say, and you're wanting to do a bank statement loan, you're probably going to be more like, in that case, probably more like 20 to 30% down. You got a 780 credit score, right? And then the other thing is reserves. So how much you have in the bank after you put down the down payment that's left over after closing. So, but you could get in on a bank statement loan as little as 10% down.
Generally.
If the credit score is right, yeah.
And what can business owners be doing in order to prep themselves to just get an amazing deal on a bank statement loan?
Well, number one, make sure, I think number one is their credit. I mean, if you've got a client, and our average FICO, we track this monthly. Our average FICO, even on our bank statement loans, even on, a lot of our portfolio stuff, I mean, it's north of 740, right? So if a self-employed client's coming in, and that's one of the other things we look at, you're coming to buy a house, you're not buying for a month, 2, 3, 4, 5 months. Maybe you qualified 680 and you're okay putting down your 20 or 30%. But we say, hey, Cam, why don't you pay this debt down? Why don't you pay this down? It's just cash flow. Pay these balances down. Get us the statements. We'll do a rescore. We'll get your score to 780. Now maybe you keep some of that cash that you were going to put down. Keep that in your business bank account. Keep that in your personal bank account. Put down less money. At the end of the day, interest, depending on your accountant, can be tax deductible. So cash flow in your bank account can be more important than putting it down. So I would say the most important thing is credit. The second thing is if we're going to do a business bank statement loan, make sure that you're not, even if you're moving money, make sure you don't have any insufficient funds or overdrafts. Even if it's a situation where it's like, okay, I got 70 a month coming in. Next month I had a couple vendors not pay, but I'm going to spend more than I've coming in. And so I've got an NSF, making sure that you're keeping that account, positive. Obviously somebody's going to have a bunch of NSFs is going to have trouble getting qualified for anything, let alone a bank statement loan. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of the things that I recently have kind of branched into is I'm getting more and more into the business lending space. Because I've been working with a guy named Thad at Bluegrass, awesome dude. It's a similar process of like, I said the narrative of like your bank statements tell a story.
Yeah, yeah.
So make sure it tells a good story.
It tells a great story, yeah. Or it can tell a really bad story.
Or it can tell a bad story. And the more and more I get in the space, I'm seeing a lot of businesses' bank accounts.
Yep.
Which even just goes to show that there's so much out there of like, there's a lot of lack of education for business owners. Because business owners can be great at running their craft. A lot of people are amazing operators.
Oh, yeah.
But then when it comes into like the nitty gritty of what's your P&L? What's your cost of delivery? What is your, what are all the auto pays you have going right now? One thing that I'm always looking for personally is like, what's forecasting? What's projections? Like if we keep on this track, are we on a good track? Because that's a really interesting thing. So does Northpoint offer any other services or is it only mortgage loans?
So we locally here, we're just doing residential loans. We're not doing like business loans or we're primarily, I'd say 98% of what we do is in the residential lending space. Mm-hmm. We have a big portion of the big portion of the bank is in the warehouse lending space. But as far as like what you're doing or, what your friend's doing, we don't do anything like that. Huh?
But Northpoint's still a bank, so people could still bank with Northpoint.
Oh yeah. Northpoint's an FDIC insured bank. We've got money markets, CDs, all those things. It's just our primary focus is residential lending. Yeah.
Okay. Now when it comes to Northpoint, I mean, like I said, because to me, I think of like Chase, Fifth Third, like those are like, what's the level there from Northpoint to like Chase and Fifth Third?
What do you mean?
Like, I'm trying to think because I'm not sure how banking qualifies themselves because it's not really revenue. I guess it might be revenue, but like scale. How do you scale?
I don't know. I don't know how big. I don't know how big like a Chase or it's kind of like in the accounting world. Mm-hmm. You've got the big 3 or 4 accounting firms. When you talk about Chase and Bank of America, I mean, I would say they're the big 3 or 4, Chase, Bank of America, Wells. Yeah, I don't really know how to quantify that. That's a good question. They're in a league of their own.
Yeah.
From a size perspective,
mm-hmm.
we're in that mid-range size. If you're looking at like the size of the bank, but performing extremely well.
Yeah. Well, and then it's I think some of the benefit from working with smaller. Like you have brand new, medium, and then like the large tier. Large tier systematized things so much. There's a lot of that lack of personality. And then the medium tier can still get that. I'm sure for you guys, are you guys able to hear out stories, and does that help influence?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I would say comparing us in that perspective, comparing us to Wells, Bank of America, Fifth Third, whoever. Yeah, we are definitely, we look at the client as much as we look at anything. So we're looking at the whole picture, the whole story, like you're saying, as opposed to just a credit score.
Yeah. Which I think is a great thing to offer most people, because there's so many nuances to someone's story that when you learn could lead to a great.
You can open up so many different, you talk to a client who, if you just look at their credit, which unfortunately, this is what a lot of mortgage lending is. People look at they look at the credit and they look at the application, which is called the IRLA, and it doesn't tell everything. So then you start digging in and you're asking questions, and not only can you help them open up other opportunities and programs that maybe that they didn't know existed, there may be other opportunities and things that, other properties they have that they may need to refi or consolidate or whatever. So, that's one of the biggest things is, with as much as I'm blessed to close as many, clients I'm able to help, I still talk to every client not face to face, over the phone, or talk to every client. And my point in saying that is it's very old school. I'm not opposed to technology. I'm sure, like you, I'm ChatGPT, and I'm using all the different technologies that I can to try and enhance and make more efficiencies. But when it comes to that customer service, I won't cut any corners. So taking extra time to do that one-on-one with the client, whether it's a Teams call or over the phone. But I think the big thing there, to your point, is that you learn a lot more about that story, which helps, identify what's best for the client.
Yeah. And what do you think's the reason why behind you being able to do things at such a high level? Like, what's the difference between you and then other people not doing it to the same extent of what you're doing right now?
I think the most successful people, not necessarily me necessarily, but just the most successful people in the industry, it's about activity. So, we only have so many hours in the day, right? So I know from 8 to 5-ish, sometimes like yesterday I left at 3:30 because I coach basketball, but from 8 to 5, that's the normal business day. My day is full of mostly cultivating new relationships with clients, right? It's putting out fires on loans that are in process to close. And as much as I like to let my assistants handle and processors handle as much as I can, like I tell any loan officer that's scaling, like, if you think you're going to remove yourself from the process entirely, you're kidding yourself. Okay. But 8 to 5 is new business and moving along, all that other stuff. 4 o'clock in the morning is my busy work. So I think most people aren't willing to sacrifice. Like, I've got to go to bed, most nights. Like, I stayed up Monday night to watch that national championship game. Normally I wouldn't have. Most nights I'm asleep by 9:30. And so sacrificing some of those things. Now, I'm not my kids are asleep, right? My wife's typically asleep, 9:30, 10 o'clock as well. So changing your schedule, changing your life to be able to do those things, I think is what's different. And, people ask me all the time, how do you close as many loans as you close? I'm constantly talking about what we do. And I'm not just saying we offer loans, we offer conventional FHA. It's, to your point, talking about helping self-employed clients with bank statement loans, helping clients with bridge loans, construction, renovation, the all-in-one, and all these different things that we do, helping people build portfolios, helping people, just in general. And so the more that you're talking about it, the more that you're trying to stay top of mind for previous clients, referral partners, the more that your phone rings. And my phone, since we've been here, it's been buzzing the whole time. And that's a blessing. 20 years later, the fact that my phone's still ringing is awesome. So
yeah, it's always I think one of the key points you were mentioning there is like, you're like, hey, when people are asleep, we're not doing things, I'm still working.
Yeah.
And then I'm choosing to not go out and do all these other things to then work more.
People ask me what my like hobbies are. I coach my kids in basketball. When it's not 7 degrees outside, I walk my kids to school in the morning. Like, my wife and kiddos, that's my hobbies right now. Well, maybe I'll play golf when I'm 56, 7, 8, and my kids are, grown and gone and don't want to do anything with me. Yep. But that and work, I tell people it's like Groundhog Day every day, and I wouldn't trade it. Like, I would literally wake up, and some days it's a little harder to get up at 4 a.m., but some days, like Monday, Monday morning. So Sunday night, Monday morning, I told Tyler Jenkins, I was like, I've got so much to do. I mean, I was at my desk before 3. Mm-hmm. Again, when people tell me there's not enough time in the day, I'm like, there's 24 hours. And when the rest of the world's sleeping, you're not taking away time from your kids. You're not taking time away from your spouse or your significant other. You just have to get up and do it. I'd like to say that I go to the gym. I don't. I'm in a push-up group that we do 100 push-ups a day. But other than that, man, it's like the things that are important to you, which to me is my kiddos and work, because it allows my kiddos and my wife to do things that, you know, I wasn't necessarily able to do when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that it's that sacrifice to an extent of, you know, my mom's the exact same way. She was like, I didn't have this growing up. That's why I did this. She built an amazing company, did a lot of things, but like one of her driving factors is I didn't have this. I want to give it to you. And there's that interesting thing now that I've seen with my siblings of like, they don't have that.
Yeah.
They didn't experience that.
Yeah.
So it's not received the way that maybe they want it to be received of like, I'm doing this is a gift. This is my labor. And it's not always saying like, oh, this is just life.
Yeah.
And they miss out on that. So it's
I tell you what, so I grew up, I mean, I'm one of 5 boys, and I mean, we never went hungry. There was never a situation where I was worried about like, were we going to be homeless? But we didn't have a lot. I wouldn't trade my childhood, but to your point, like part of the reason that I work as hard as I work is like, I want to be able to provide, but also my 19-year-old, so I got a freshman in college, dude, she worked at Chick-fil-A while, you know, playing 2 varsity sports and was the senior class president. Like, she learned hard work from Shelly and I, mm-hmm. and her mom and her stepdad, Jason. She's very blessed to have 2 loving, you know, households. But like she learned. And so even though she was provided, like I maybe wasn't, she still saw the hard work from all of us to where thankfully we've passed that on to her to where she's not, you know, some kids that grow up not needing are kind of, I don't know, entitled's a word, but they don't want to work as hard. Man, as long as we're showing our kids through the work and then sharing through the fruits through the labor, then obviously, hopefully it'll pass along to them and they'll be successful as well.
Yeah. It's always 2 totally different things. Cause it's like, you can have someone who super successful parents and they're like, I want to be just like that. And it like drives them more.
Yeah.
And then you have someone else who just misconstrues it the entire other way. And you're like, and it just missed the mark. So what do you think? I mean, is there even a way to cultivate that with kids to do hard work?
You know, I mean, I think about like back to when I was at St. X, I had a number of classmates whose parents were way well off, right? And a lot of those kids, and you know, a lot of them are super successful, right? So I shouldn't say a lot of those kids, but a lot of those kids are successful, and there's some that, you know, they didn't learn the hard work from their parents because everything was, you know, put on and nobody in particular, but you know what I mean. So I think the biggest thing is being an involved parent. You know, I mean, showing the hard work, but then also, you know, having them do some of the same things. You know, they pick up after themselves and they do their homework every night, and you know, but we're involved. It's not go do your homework. It's like let's do the homework together. Mm-hmm. And then them seeing it. Like I said, I'd like to say that I play golf. I don't want to say I'd like to say I play golf because I wouldn't trade what I do, but being there and being involved, I think is the thing that when you know, when kids and parents, when they don't pick up from what their parents maybe did, I think a lot of it has to do with how involved the parents were.
Yeah, I think that's a big role. I'm very interested in psychology because I plan on having kids one day.
Yeah.
And I'm really obsessed with the idea of like, how do I, not to like make a mini me, but how do I create somebody or at least set them up for success?
Yeah.
And not do the things that could really drag them down. Yeah. Of like, let's not yell and let's not, you know, drink to an extent where I don't look presentable. Like all of these subtopics are like, I want to be a person that they look up to in a way that makes them want to be better. Because also, I mean, it's kind of helping the world out and all those things.
Yeah, and you know, listen, I'd lie to you if I said that I've never raised my voice. Being more conscious about it, you know, you're gonna have your moment where you're not your best version of yourself, right? But being conscious of it, like you're saying, you know, obviously, you know, if you're gonna go out and have a couple drinks and not be, you know, like you said, in the best light for your kids, like, you know, make sure that you're either staying out and having a sitter or you're, you know, you're coming in and going going to bed after they've gone to bed or whatever. But, we're not perfect, dude. We're not perfect. And if we show our kids the best version of ourselves, the majority of the time we show them the hard work. I mean, a perfect example is, like I said, the closest thing I've got to a mini-me, because my little kids are, the story's not completely written yet, right?
Yep.
My 19-year-old is a great example of that. Like, she's doing her thing and running track in college. She was on ESPN last Saturday, which was really cool. Running the 800. And so but to your point though, if you show them the work and you bring them to work with you, let them tag along, and they see dad doing those things, they'll learn.
Yeah, I think the tag along's a big thing. I tagged along, like my entire childhood was like at my dad's office selling stuff. Yeah. Or like going with my mom to cadaver labs, which was kind of traumatic, Mom. I'm not over that yet.
That's
but
funny.
Yeah, it was crazy. But
what'd your dad, you said your dad sold, what'd he sell?
Construction equipment.
Okay.
He has a giant office right near the Lynn Family Stadium.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he's right there. And it was like every day. I was there basically my entire childhood.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So my three youngest kiddos, not as much as, like, for instance, my 19-year-old, because we'd gone through a divorce, and so she was with me. Pick her up from school, she went back to the office, right? She had a backpack at my office with crowns and stuff. Now my little kiddos, obviously it's a little different, but they still come, they're there all the time. My youngest Harper, I mean, she literally has never met a stranger at the office, and she goes around and collects business cards and does all the things. So I think including them in that hard work is what, I think will be when you have kids, because, I hope that one day, if you want to, that you're blessed to have kids, which is the greatest gift that we can have. Now you'll do a great job.
Yeah. It's just cool psychology, especially because I have, like my girlfriend has 10 siblings.
Wow.
It's crazy. But seeing their parents manage that is just like such a interesting thing to me.
What's their age gap?
I think they're all like 3 years apart or something like that. But it goes from like 27 to like 7 or
okay.
Like 6.
So there's a 17-year gap between my oldest brother and my youngest brother. Mm. There's only 5 of us though. And one of my best friends on the earth, who's also one of my partners at work, they have 5. And, we talk about it all the time. It's like, how do you give each kid enough time? 10, I'm like, how? Yeah. And it sounds like they've done a good job.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So like last night, for instance, Harper, our 7-year-old, she had practice, and normally there's 2 of them that are coming home on Wednesdays with me because Layla has practice too. Well, Layla has the flu right now. And so Harper and I got to go to dinner last night. And even though it was 30 minutes of one-on-one time, like getting to see that, just getting to spend that time and see the person that you don't see when there's 2 or 3 other kids, because you're going, don't do this, eat your food, what are you doing? To have that one-on-one time is key. And so, sometimes slowing down and doing that, but I don't know how you do that with 10 kids.
No, so. It's a skill in itself.
Yeah.
And her dad's a business owner. So it's like, he's running a business.
So mom's a saint.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly.
Yes. The patience, like I go over there and I'm like just shocked by the patience presented.
God bless America. Yeah.
God bless America. Yeah. That much patience. Well, I think last question for you, because I'm really interested in this. How are you managing? Because I know I can get a short temper, especially when work's bothering me 24/7. And like someone's calling me and then someone needs this. And then there's a problem with something around the house. And I'm like, really? How do you manage that temper? How do you manage that frustration from doing everything? Or it feels like that sometimes.
At home or work or where? Everywhere.
It's life.
So Tyler Jenkins asks me that all the time. You have to be a goldfish. I could get off the phone with a complete fire train wreck of a situation. Mm-hmm. And the next client, if I bring that to them, it's just completely brings the whole conversation down. So I look at it when I get off the phone, like I can be anybody I want to be when I pick up the next call. I can have the worst day. My dad died July 3rd, 2007. And because of what my dad would have done, I went to work on Monday. And, for me, that was a way to remove myself from the grief. And so back to your question, it's like, if I can, every time I'm talking to somebody, if I can, brighten their day, lift them up, whatever, Man, there's days I get home, and it's just been one of those, every single thing was a fire at work. And like I said, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm perfect. I'm not going to say I've never raised my voice with my kids. But what I try to remember is they weren't at work with all those fires. And my wife reminds me often when I walk in the door, like we're at different levels, right? And so I try, no matter how bad my day's been, to, walk in the door. And I have a lot of great days. But even on my worst day, when I walk in the door, I try to make it, special for the kids. And listen, when you're blessed to have kids, they have bad days. And keeping that patience and that cool, even when you just want to scream, it's tough, dude. I pray a lot. One of the things that finds me or helps me find like a calmness is like simple as this is like, dude, if I'm having one of those moments, it's like, I'll just say a Hail Mary. And it's as corny as that sounds, it's, to me, I don't do yoga, but it's like doing yoga. Mm-hmm. But yeah, with the kids or with clients or with, friends, taking a deep breath, maybe not saying what you want to say in the first 2 seconds that you want to reply. That awkward, like I just did that, kind of that awkward like pause. To think about what you're going to say before you say it, I think is what's key. And listen, dude, I'll say this, like you've built from where I met you a short 7 months ago to now, like you've continued to build a great business and you'll continue to do great things. I think the biggest thing is put your clients' needs first, right? When you build your family, make sure that you spend that time with them because like we were talking about, the wealthiest people on the face of this earth, the one thing they can't buy is time. So that's it, dude. Hopefully I haven't bored you to death with my my life philosophies today.
It was great.
Yeah.
There's value in all of it.
Appreciate you having me, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for being on.
Yeah. No worries.
And where can people get in contact with you? Let's say someone's listening to this and they're like, dude, I think I could be an amazing fit in that organization.
Yeah. No, good question. So I'm one of the few people that, doesn't use like a second business burner phone or whatever. I use my cell phone. So my cell phone number, 502-777-4642. Facebook is my name. I'm on Instagram, which I don't do a good job of checking, but also email. So, however, but yeah, I'm easy to find. And yeah, if you're looking to, get into the business, or if you're in the business and you want to take it to the next level, you just feel like you're hitting a ceiling. Let's chat.
Sweet. Well, thanks for being on, man.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me.